What were you doing when you were 17 years old?
Why 17-year-old?
There are 17-year-olds who are together printing more than $1 million
A month.
in a month.
They made 3 apps. First one was called Riz GPT.
I love how Gen Zs end up in making a word for everything they find wave. So three
Yeah.
people riding on the AI wave, building apps around it, on top of it.
Who wouldn't want to be a millionaire at 17 versus busting your ass off at whatever age that you are?
Very few people actually know who they are, what they're building. I was brought up in Dhanbad, so my version defaults to Nawazuddin being told, "Tera khoon kab kholega Faisal." What is absolutely blowing my mind about these guys is the fact that they're not doing anything out of the ordinary.
Influencers didn't entertain them. But when Zach went in with his own Instagram account with a blue tick which costed $10 a month, he got more responses.
Can we bring this to India?
See, Kale for me, I think is a very useful product. I think male grooming is going bigger in India. You don't know till you don't try.
Men are extremely uncomfortable talking about these aspects to other men.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2. This is me and Ankit again, and we are back to talk about something new this time.
More shortcuts.
More shortcuts, yes sir, more shortcuts.
And this one also is not a shortcut as we do about on short.
Yeah, the irony of shortcut. And the first question I want to ask you as we begin is,
What were you doing when you were 17 years old? Like, what was your day-to-day like?
I only remember a few things about myself when I was 17 years old.
Mhm.
I was ugly, I was fat, and I was about 85 kgs.
How much do you weigh right now?
But 70, 75, I range in between.
Got it. I'm proud of the fact that you have the strength to say I was ugly, because that's I haven't been able to cross that barrier yet. But
Thank you. I thought you were pointing at something else.
no, not really. I think we should spend more time together so that I also learn how to do that. So yeah. But okay. You should have asked me, but I'm gonna go and do it myself.
What were you doing?
Thank you. Yes. 17 was when I gave ITs and 12
Oh.
boards. And I realized I was certainly not intelligent, incredible, smart, none of those things that my parents wanted me.
I'm sure that's why you went to MIT.
Yeah. Especially after what we're going to talk about, I don't feel smart about myself anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. So
What
yeah.
are we talking about? Why 17-year-olds?
Yeah, because we recently bumped into some 17-year-olds on the internet. Well, we didn't bump into them. A lot of people bumped into them and we happened to just see it. And it was embarrassing. There are 17-year-olds, there's like three kids.
217, 123 years.
Okay, 2 are 17, 1 is 23. So we came across these 3 kids who are together printing more than $1 million
A month.
Yeah, in a month. Yeah.
What were you doing when you were 17?
And you're still doing, you're watching a fucking podcast, bro. You just can't. Yeah. But yes, let's talk more about them. So
There's these 3 guys, 2 17-year-olds, 1 23-year-old. They made 3 apps. Each of the combined 20 million plus downloads, $15 million plus revenues, 1 billion plus impressions, and all in less than a year.
this is the exact kind of silence that was in my head when I heard it last evening as well.
Right? It's
Yeah.
you get into depression for a couple of hours with the age that you're in, and calling yourself building in technology
Thanks.
for the last 10 years.
Thanks. There was no need for that, but thanks. But okay, so let's talk more about one of the apps. I think that's how the whole thread got started, right? What was the first app?
First one was called Riz GPT.
Sorry, Riz
GPT.
The Gen Z Riz.
The Gen Z Riz.
I love how Gen Z.
2,000 years later.
I love how Gen Zs end up in making a word for everything they find.
So Riz was a AI tool for replying to your Tinder swipes.
Pickup lines.
Pickup lines. AI for pickup lines.
Mm.
So that did pretty well. I think they did 500K plus MRR, 250, 500K, and that was their first taste of virality at a larger scale.
Uh,
They've been building smaller apps, smaller versions.
uh,
Again, they're not a fly-by-night story, right? We keep seeing this again and again whenever we come across such.
yeah, it's the same. 5 years of hard work, then overnight
Yeah,
success.
so while these guys are young, they started early. They started programming early. They started getting into marketing early. Like we saw on their developer account, we could find at least 10 apps.
Yep.
Right? So they've been at it, trying it, hacking it for some time now. Right? And this was one. Okay, the next is UMax.
UMax. That's the app I also
That's the app.
tried.
You know what the tagline, you remember the tagline?
Be hot.
Become hot.
Become hot.
Become hot, not be hot.
Right.
Crazy, right?
hot.
Just 2 words which can.
There is a slight pattern here, right? In the most 17-year-old terms, Risk GPT is probably gonna help you get laid, right?
Yeah.
So is UMax also. Literally, UMax, the promise there was you take a picture and then we tell you how ugly you look and then we tell you how good you could look.
Yeah.
And we'll fill the gap in the middle. You pay us $400 per week. 400 INR. This is not dollars.
Yeah. So $4 a week.
Right.
Just to know where we are on a scale of 0 to 100. We'll look at our scores. We'll look at what our best 10 on 10 version would look like.
Right.
What we need to do to get there. And mind you, they sell you a bunch of stuff in between. So a typical.
What do you mean they sell you a bunch of
So they
stuff?
start with $3.99 just for analyzing your face and telling you how bad you look.
Okay.
That's worth $4, $350. Right. To get to, if you're let's say 53 and your potential is 89, they'll ask you for another $8 to show you how you can go from 53 to 89. Like maybe on your jawline, drink less water, put some cream, male grooming. All of this came out of male grooming, right? We are not used to this shit, right? Like for the longest time ever, I don't remember putting anything on my face.
Right.
Only more recently, because of my wife, have I gotten into a bit of skincare.
So you do have sunscreen on right now.
Yes.
All right, lovely. Proud of you.
Yes. So, but male grooming is again a big industry starting to come up,
Yes.
and they tapped into it like crazy. $8. Now, $8 is about how you can go from 54 to 89. There's also a journey in between. You want a cream? Buy it from here. You want a serum? Buy it from us. You want this package? There is commerce embedded in the whole journey.
Right. I think I find this part fair that you pay some money to look better, but how bad I look, I really didn't need anybody else to tell me that. That's one. And second, paying money for it is just, it's insane. Why would you? I did that. I did that last evening.
So they really tapped into a deep human need to look good. And not for females, mind you. They tapped into the male psyche. You, me, people like us. These are boys who went after men and boys. But females, come along if you want to. Right.
Let's also talk a little. I think there's a leading pattern here that we are heading towards. So there's Risk GPT. There is it sounds so funny. Risk GPT. Why would you call yourself that? But Risk GPT. Then the next thing is Max. There's one more.
Then there's Cal AI.
There's Cal AI. Yes.
The big one, and I have quite a bit of respect for them for Cal AI.
I agree.
They're going after the biggies.
Yeah.
And this one looks like a truer, sustainable, long-term rocket. Right.
Why would you call it a truer, sustainable, long-term?
They're actually solving for living better, the health and fitness area, which is extremely popular and gaining more traction by the day. And the problem is pretty genuine, right? They're solving for your calorie intake on a day-to-day basis. This is no more about vanity or user hacking or, going into your psyche and just getting you to click and pay and go.
Calorie tracking as a habit, as a trend generally has picked up wildly in the last 1 decade. And the first thought I had when I looked at Cal AI was, there is this app, and if you are aware of the Indian startup circuit, you would know Healthify Me, right? Healthify Me has been, I think they have pivoted like a lot of times, and this is where they are.
This is a feature in their app.
There's a feature in their app. I think that's how most people end up discovering it also, right?
Possibly, yes. And they've gone at it AI first. Unlike most legacy incumbents who built other things and added AI as a layer, these guys just thought the other way around because of having no baggage
Right.
and not reverting to earlier playbooks. They just went along with what they found right in terms of hacking, growing, building, right? Which is what's so interesting about them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've been learning, knowing, talking about playbooks for such a long time, and marketing and AI are moving so fast together that you need to update yourself every single month, if not more, right? That what's really turning up.
I also want to go back and just reestablish this, that we are talking about 3 people, all of them fairly young, 2 of them super young. They're not even legal age to vote right now. So
Yeah,
17-year-olds
Their parents co-sign their credit cards.
that my father could have been proud of this shit, but okay.
You're gonna get a message from him.
We will cut this, guys. We'll cut this piece out, please. We don't want this guilt. So these are 3 super young folks who have done something incredible, where very similar to like a one-person company built, like a built with and similar, but they are all riding on the AI wave. So 3 people riding on the AI wave, building apps around it, on top of it. All right. So now I have a sense that I've understood who these people are, what they have been doing. I want to kind of go through the first feelings that we had about them, right? So since the morning, ever since you told me about these guys, and the more we learn, right, the more there is a sense of, and the more I think if you look at the word on the internet also, it's difficult for people to accept.
Yes, they do get their fair share of hate.
Yeah. There was this one, there were 2 folks reviewing them, and they did seem to be okay with the fact that somebody did so well, right? And it was seemingly so easy for them. But again, this was not a shortcut. That's the whole point of what we're trying to hear. It wasn't a shortcut. There was a lot of hard work involved in it. But why do you think the instant reaction people have is, like, I don't like them? Why do you not like them? Because they're much younger and much more successful. Is that correct? Is that?
I think that's the most envy, right?
Right.
I think that's the most triggering emotion that you get when you first hear this. Who wouldn't want to be a millionaire at 17 versus busting your ass off at whatever age that you are on today, right? I think that's one. The second is they're challenging a lot of norms, right? We've seen a lot of, I'm an MBA grad. You were a marketer for some time, right? We've been thinking
You just realize that if you talk about my education credentials, I would look like a P, and then you just decided not to say that at all. Which is okay. Thanks. It's been a shameful day for me.
But I think it's worth taking a step back and looking at it from a very neutral lens.
Yeah. I want to be super objective and fair about my assessment on these guys, right? Whatever they have done is super impressive. Second, they've been able to do it obviously at a very, very young age, which is again just makes it more impressive for that matter. But when you look on the internet and see what is the reality about their situation right now, there are a few notes I have about them. First is that very, very few people actually know who they are, what they're building. Like when you look at a typical startup setup that you hear of, the founder has been talking about it, the world has been talking about it. These guys,
Very few people are actually, it's like almost like an undercurrent type goes through.
so there is little.
They very recently grabbed the limelight. They got published in Forbes.
Right.
Has got some Twitter following. He's been tweeting.
Right.
Very recent is when they've just blown up.
Let's also talk about the one thing that constantly seemed to be the topic of conversation everywhere else, right? Whoever was talking about it. This is not sustainable. So in just zooming out and taking a general note on virality versus sustainability, do you think they ever go hand in hand? Do you think this massive growth, whatever they have done, and all the doubts on the fact whether this is the right approach or the wrong approach, do you think this is heading somewhere?
So I think there is some argument to be made on sustainability, right? And looking at it from a very objective lens, if you take the different apps, Riz, and then you take Umax, and then you take Cal, I would say Riz and Umax are more fad-leds, right? Smaller feature kind of stuff where I wouldn't expect the revenue that you're making to be called as ARR. I wouldn't term it as annual recurring revenue. I'd have two thoughts about it. I'd want to see more retention over a longer period of time before I could classify that as ARR. But the newer one, which is Cal, I think they have a big shot with that one, right? It goes beyond just vanity metrics. It goes into solving for truer problems at a different level in people's heads, right? And it can be pretty sustainable, right? And it's also targeting incumbents who are just not able to match their speed, right?
Sure, no, I think absolutely. And the most exciting part of today's conversation is probably just uncovering what did they do so well and what we can learn from it, right?
Yes.
But before I jump there, I have this one note that I did try using the Umax app, right?
Yes.
And the little bit of commentary that you find on internet about them, which is around ethical practices and just, not being very nice and kind and very fair. I think I know where it stems from. There is a lot of frustration that I had in that journey. It was just a 30-minute process where I downloaded the app, took me like 10 seconds or so. The first thing the app asked me to do was pay, right? So they took a picture and they said, pay before I tell you anything else, right? And now I had to, I couldn't not, right? But my reason was
to become hot, did you?
No, I just wanted to explore for this one, right? I know I'm beyond that. I can't become hot.
What was your score?
I never got my score. That's what I'm coming to, right? So I have not used the app. The app has provided me zero value and they have gated the entire usage of it. This is against, like, if you have ever seen some good products being built, good product managers speaking, good marketers speaking.
This goes against the general norm.
Yeah, you want to first provide value to the consumer and then gate the more of it, right? But they don't do that. And I'm pretty sure that a ton of people who have come this far. So, there's this psychological principle when you have done a little bit, like there's some reward system that if you think you have done a little bit of journey, you are more keen on continuing it. So you will pay something that now that I'm here, just tell me how hot or how ugly I am, right? So you go ahead and do that. From there, I made the payment, and in India, it takes a UPI auto approve, whatever mandate that's called. So I paid $399. I took a front selfie, I took a side selfie, and then the screen came with a loader that said, it'll take us around 2 minutes to do this, right? I gave them 20 minutes, no output. It just stuck there. Maybe it was not built for India. Maybe my face was too brown. I don't know what happened. But something happened and didn't work for me at all.
Let's get into a playbook.
Absolutely. Let's find their shortcuts.
All right.
Go. So for the most interesting part of this, right, to understand what they did well, I think it'll be ideal to let's break it down into like small pieces of the entire journey and then see what happened. That, or would you rather want to say find common patterns in whatever they have built so far?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
Clearly, one tweet that I saw of Blake Anderson, one of the 23-year-old, to me summarized everything that I went through in their process, right? B2B SaaS, talk to your consumers. B2C, look for the comments.
Look for the comments.
Look for the comments. You generally don't really go about. That's not the first thing that strikes you when you think B2C apps, right? So they have this really interesting playbook around the importance that they place on comments given by users when influencers or when you're distributing your product via influencer marketing or any kind of marketing material out there. How are users engaging? What kind of engagement do they have? Likes, followers come second. Is the comments.
Let's look at building an app as a 3-step process.
Yes.
Maybe the step 1 is understanding what is it that I build. So some sort of consumer research is step 1. Second is building the app itself. So product development being the second one. Third is distributing the application in a way that you acquire a ton of users.
Yep. First is what do you build? Right. So let me give you some anecdotes around how they went about building these 2-3 kind of things.
Sure.
Now, first is what idea do you go up on? Right. So some anecdotes from their journey on how they went about finding ideas and what they built. The first that I saw was that David Goggins app, which was an alarm clock in the voice of David Goggins.
Right.
The Indian equivalent to me would be Sunny Deol
Yeah.
shouting out, "Ye Major Veerwan ka beta nahi ho sakta,"
Yeah.
as a morning alarm and getting up you to go to the gym.
Correct. I was brought up in Dhanbad, so my version defaults to Nawazuddin being told, "Tera khoon kab kholega Faisal," right? But yeah, same story, different part of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, how did he turn up on this idea? Scrolling social media around motivation content is what Zach used to keep watching. And he saw in David Goggins is a very motivational speaker. Awesome book. If you should read it if you haven't read it so far. But in that he found in the comments a bunch of videos around David Goggins, a lot of likes and a lot of comments around how do I use this motivation more frequently in my life? Right? Can I get this voice on a more? I want him to urge me more on a day-to-day basis. And he tapped into that need. Right? And he saw a lot of those comments. So that comment starts to come from there. Number one, in how do you find what do people want?
So, is it my takeaway from this is leaning towards.
Let me give you the other anecdotes as well
Sure.
before you start building takeaway.
Sure.
Another anecdote comes from male grooming, the UMax app.
Mm.
There's a Reddit thread called male grooming, r/male grooming. 850K odd followers last I checked. If you go on that thread, it's just males putting up photos every day. Random folks across the world. Should I cut my beard? Should I cut my hair? How do I look? Suggest me something. Men, you, me, people like us. Not women.
Do they also upload these photos on Reddit?
They do. And it's like a the look maxing, the fit check trend, all of these kinds of trends on that Reddit thread at mass scale. They picked this up from there, right? So they again found this community where males were constantly putting out photos, asking for advice, wanting to look better. What should they do? What should they not do? And they tapped into that core need with an AI on the rear. Right. That is anecdote number 2. Anecdote number 3 on Cal is MyFitnessPal sucks from a simplicity standpoint. That if you're a new user and if you're there for one purpose to solve for what is your calorie count in the day. What you've eaten, how much does it, what's the macro, what's the calorie count that I'm taking in on a daily basis. Just give me that simple, easy, fast, and then move me from there, which is completely missing.
So why is MyFitnessPal supposed to be like hectic to use? Because I've not used it, so I'm just.
I have tried using it a couple of times.
Is there a lot of manual input needed?
Yes, it just felt a bit cumbersome and loaded to me and a bit overwhelming to me. I haven't used it recently. I tried it maybe I think a couple of years back. I barely lasted 7 days in terms of usage. Because it just felt too much to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And all Cal started with is just come, click, see. Very, very simple, easiest thing that you could solve for on your day-to-day life. Right? So they go with trying to find something, build it, ship it, scale it, and see if it works. And only double down. Once they see something working, then they go through the kitchen sink. Right? Let's go all in. And you have more copycats or more people coming in and building same stuff that actually snowballs even more. Right? Because if you're in the pole position, that opens up the market a bit for you.
No, 100%. I think one thing that we have certainly ruled out here is that they did not get lucky. You don't get lucky so often in such a definitive and well-planned manner. So they did not get lucky. Yes. Second part is building the app itself.
Right. Now these guys are again very smart and very straightforward about it. They use simple technical stuff. Don't go too deep into polishing your app, saving some milliseconds for lower latency. So they don't build very, very complex stuff. All of this could be built over a weekend. Right. Technically just speaking, they're not hard things to build. Scaling them becomes a different challenge altogether when with too much concurrency users, etc. Let's not go there. But building something fast, iterating on top by distribution and what people are liking and then going deeper is their typical playbook.
So you're saying what they're building is not complex?
But it's not complex. For sure, it's not complex. It's the genius is in the marketing, not in the product. I think that was the biggest takeaway for me.
Right. So in the second part of the process, which is building out the app. So first was consumer research. We're done with that. Second is building out the app itself. There is absolutely no genius here. What they saw, what they found was the primary problem. Then let's move to distribution. We understand that, and by the way, we are recording this episode in a place called HSR Layout in Bangalore, where honestly speaking, all their apps are just GPT wrappers. So if somebody wants to build out, if you just go and shout in HSR that, hey, you know what, we need to build this, there are at least 100 kids who are going to run out and say, hey, I can do this over a weekend, right?
Yes.
So no, we nothing special happening there, guys. This is something most of Indian folks can do. Brown thing, it's all the code we can write. Okay, great. Part 3 of this was distributing. Let's zoom out again and look at these guys from a particular distance and see that whatever pace and trajectory of growth they have had is slightly unreal, right? That's what a ton of entrepreneurs are dying for, right? We did go through, I think Ankit, you went through like a ton of interviews, podcasts and things that they've done, right? The most powerful thing that worked for them in terms of marketing strategy, right? Do you think that was influencer marketing itself?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And the primary channel they were focused on, again, they're a very US based entity and US based team as well. They are most likely riding on the TikTok wave, correct?
TikTok, Instagram are their biggest levers where they go all out on those channels and they build playbooks on those social media channels. Yes.
Got it. What else are they using here? What else is their distribution strategy? So one thing I was able to take a note of, my research began with the App Store optimization bit. Highly optimized pages on the App Store, right? You could, all the basic, first principles, the good practices, the best practices are in place. The keywords are right where they should be. The images are done well. But further, when you go into the app also, they've done some very basic hygiene stuff, but it's done really well. So
I think if you look at their app, it looks like it's being built by a growth person rather than an engineer, right? Single large blue boxes. Simple, like bring the consumer straight on. Don't really give too much stuff to, overwhelm the mind. Simple stuff done right. And they're extremely iterative. So they go deep into instrumentation to find what works, what doesn't work in their conversion funnels. They do a lot of A/B testing. They are publicly vocal about using Superwall as an A/B testing tool, which they extremely heavily use. So they do a lot of that to have come to this optimized layer that you're now looking at, the polished layer that you're looking at. It wasn't like this on day 0.
No, of course. So I think they iterate really fast. They just do the basics really well. I have a slight digression, but this slight digression is probably gonna lead to an interesting conversation, right? I think that just because of the fact that they are really young, right? And they have not had a ton of other distracting experiences in their life, they probably have very little to unlearn.
But I think you're very, very on point. They don't have baggage.
And there is none of them who looks at, you know what, this will not work because lal color ka karo, make this red. Yaar, maza nahi aaya. None of that is happening in their life. They're just looking at data and they're being like, is this working, not working? If not working, let's try something else.
Yes.
It sounds so simple and it's so difficult to do. Everybody in this pin code that we're in 560102 HSR layout fucker has read all the best practices. Not one of them is applying that right now because they just can't unlearn, and it's so difficult.
It's hard.
I have empathy.
It's super hard.
It's super hard. Not trying to make it.
Yes. So I think no baggage, moving fast, and building simple things, right? That work. That's been the 3 things. Strategically, I think we've covered them okay.
Yeah.
Let's get into a little more tactical stuff, right? Where things get interesting.
what is the marketing tactic that gets you excited? What are you most excited about here?
So let's maybe break down their influencer marketing playbook.
Sure.
Right. I think lots to unpack there, and lots of takeaways for anybody who might be building from scratch or might want to scale influencer marketing in a more process-led way or a more scientific way,
Right.
that you can get to. So here's how they approach. They have this concept of CPM and RPM, pretty standard terms, revenue per million or
Mhm.
cost per million.
Yeah.
So what is the amount of money that you're going to spend on any marketing material, and what is the revenue you're going to generate out of it? Fairly straightforward. Now, overlaying these metrics on the qualitative side of things, they typically try to get into the algorithm. So they open up a new account. Let's say I'll talk about Cal first, right? How did they approach the playbook? And then maybe I'll tell about Umax. They opened up accounts which was absolutely empty, and then just pounded health and fitness key searches. And they got pounded back by the algorithm with influencers who are pushing out health and influencer videos. So first they made the database that these are 500,000 odd influencers of this particular type of category. And within that category, they were able to gauge what kind of audience is one guy relating to, who's solving for goals, reducing weights versus who's just solving for gyan around stuff, etc. Right? So they were able to classify who are the right influencers for their audience. Number one. Number two, they always look for what kind of an influencer holds more sway over the audience. Doesn't matter small or big. Right? This is where comments come in. They go in and try to analyze who has a cult around their audience versus who doesn't. Right? Now, likes, followers, like I said, are great. But are more people commenting on this individual's video at a higher frequency and meaningful comments? And using that data, they arrive at a stack rank of what kind of influencers might work for them. Next, for each of these influencers that they get into, they analyze their videos. So simple cost per million is they just go into videos, they look at the views, they average that out, and then take a conversion ratio of what would have worked for this guy in the past. Do some testing, throwing some money at that particular problem. Like, let's say I found an influencer whose every post does 10,000 views. Right? At a 1% conversion rate, I might get 100 signups. At a further 1% conversion rate, I might get one user converting and me getting that money paid back.
Sure.
Right? So let's say I made $10 off of that user. Now, for making that $10, I would have gotten 10,000. Like at 10,000 views, I made $10. So for 1,000 views, I need to pay $1. Right? Is that influencer coming to me at a $1 per view or not? Right? Is the lens that they look at. Easy to say, but influencers don't run on this type of revenue models.
Right.
Right? You can't go to an influencer and say, Ki, for every view, I'll give you this chiller amount. That's not how things work, right?
Yeah.
So they solve for this also, interestingly.
So I want to take a small pause here, right? So far in terms of, so one of the biggest channels is influencer marketing, right? And here's what I've learned so far, that they will create empty accounts so that the make relevant searches so that Instagram account hounds them with the right kind of content.
Yeah.
Right? That is how you start sourcing your list.
Reverse engineer.
Sorry, yes, you're reverse engineering that shit, right? So you make a, top of the funnel list of Instagram influencers, right? That's how you begin. The next thing you do is the golden marketing concept that most marketers miss out is segmentation, right? That you keep segmenting it till you find the right spot, right? So segmentation begins in a manner where they are looking at not just, so they're segmenting by what is the goal of their content, of the influencer's content. Is it to lose weight? Is it to gain weight? Is it to look better? What is it, right? Not just saying health and fitness as a category, because that's massive.
Whether it's relevant to their audience.
Correct. So you strip it, you segment it to the extent where you know that this group is absolutely on point, relevant to my audience, right?
Yes.
You do that and then you start pruning each and every person on that list.
Yes.
And it's not by a regular spreadsheet here where you do reach kitna hai, follower kitna hai, because that's how the market is
Yes,
priced. And I think
yes.
that's what's wrong with the market also. That's what they've been able to see through.
Yes.
And that's why they actually go to the comments and see if the sway power you said, right? What is the sway index of this guy?
Yes.
Right? How deeply is their audience moved by their content, regardless of whether they have 10,000 people or 1 million people, right? So this is what we do. Again, what is absolutely blowing my mind about these guys is the fact that they're not doing anything out of the ordinary. It is just basic stuff, just done really, really well.
Yeah, but this is not what an agency will recommend you to do.
The agency might recommend you this, but the agency will never do this for you,
Yeah.
right?
True.
So my point is just, I'm still carrying the same narrative and mindset about these guys. They are just doing the obvious things out there, but they're doing it so well without any distraction.
Yes.
Right? All right, cool, perfect. So that being influencer marketing, what's next with us?
Within this,
Mm-hmm.
right now, first we came to which influencers work for me. Second, after choosing them, I start allocating budgets, saying, let me test what is the cost that I'm going to incur for what kind of revenue, and let's get that tweak right. Right? If I'm not making money on every marketing spend that I do, then that influencer is not worth it for me. Right? So that is again a very important part of this. The third thing is, how do you initially, yes, people are not going to pay you per view, right, or not accept a pay-per-view kind of a model, right? That's another hurdle to overcome. They did a few smart things there. They told an influencer, we'll give you upfront payments. Take $1,000. If they like somebody with an initial budget, you take an upfront payment and you deliver us this over 10 videos, 20 videos, whatever.
Right.
And you just do this. Another thing that they do is working with those influencers by telling them about what their users might like. Hooks, briefs, right? More research that they have done, right? And bringing that and giving that to the influencer. Not really shaping the content exactly by a brief, but seeding things which they can use in their stories and weave it into the content that they're creating, right? So this is something that they do really well. The other thing, very interesting, small little hack, but I found very interesting. When they went in as Cal AI to influencers, when they were nobody, influencers didn't entertain them. But when Zach went in with his own Instagram account with a blue tick, which costed $10 a month, he got more responsive.
Yeah, this is a known hack that I have heard from someone else also. That when you reach out to influencers, it's because it's gonna be a commercial engagement. It's probably gonna turn into like a, I don't know, a big dick competition. So if you are a bigger guy and reaching out to a smaller guy, it's always better thing to work.
Yeah. So you have to keep doing this. These are some of the hacks. They maintain one-on-one relationships. They DM'd 1,000 people themselves. They built internal tools for solving this, right? AI, human combination, all kinds of stuff. But they did it through themselves.
Right.
And when once things work, they double down. They double their marketing budgets every month.
Right.
Now, that is called creating a snowball effect, right? And for each of these apps, they did things slightly differently.
Cool. That brings us to a place where I think in each episode that we do, we try to figure out if we had to do the same thing or what is it that we take away from here, right?
Yeah. Whether this can be localized.
Yes. Can we bring this to India? And I think this is also the favorite part of the episode for me, when we get to think about ideas that we probably will never work on. So, but we really hope somebody works on it. So if you do, just let us know. But let's talk about what is it that we can build for India. So the beginning is with the first pillar, which is finding that one insight that is super personal and doing some research around it, right? So if you had to just think of what are the immediate use cases that you can think of in an Indian context, right?
See, I think before we get there,
Right.
It's important to understand the caveats of what we are looking at. like we have seen tons of attempts of Western products being tried in India and being unsuccessful,
Yes.
right? So not all things that we see out there are going to work here.
Mm.
We're a very different kind of audience,
Mm.
right? We might be the highest users or in terms of number of smartphone users across the world,
Mm.
but we behave differently,
Right.
right? We pay for different things. We don't open up our pockets so
Mm.
easily,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So the number one caveat between US and India for this app like a Umax especially is subscriptions, right?
Mm.
India is not a subscription economy. US has a deep subscription economy relatively. And the fact is that in India, if you do something like this, recurring payments is not something we're used to.
Mm.
You just put in your credit card and you forget it.
Mm.
That increases their LTV significantly,
Mm.
which is why I was pointing to the fact that will I call their $6 million, $8 million run rate on Umax an annual recurring revenue?
Mm.
People tend to forget subscriptions after they've put. It's quite common.
Mm.
That won't work here because setting up auto pay, etc., it's still quite painful, to be honest, even in terms of infrastructure
Right.
and consumer adoption.
Right.
We're not used to that stuff.
Right.
We might pay once and then just fuck off.
Right. So, I think whether it's Umax or Cal AI or for that matter, any consumer utility app that monetizes via subscription, they do not see as much success in India. Today also the biggest subscription, the drivers of subscription economy in India are the big ass players like their Netflix, this,
OTT,
yes,
Pocket
OTTs,
FM,
right?
Bookwork.
I don't think people generally subscribe to any other thing here.
There's Healthify Me, some scale. So nothing that we have seen which is just digital in nature
Right.
and really large in terms of subscription.
Right.
Cult is one example. It's pretty big, but it's not just digital. They make money off their physical
Right.
gym
Right.
experience.
Right, right. So the Indian mindset begs for more than just what Umax has to offer today. Maybe we won't be monetized that easily. Maybe we'll trying to find a hack, or maybe we just get pissed. Hey, you didn't even do this job, so I'm gonna uninstall you. So the point of this was the Indian economy. When you bring the same applications to the Indian context, you have to be very mindful of the fact that India is not a fully developed subscription economy.
Yes.
So you have to find either smarter ways of monetizing or a different way of monetizing for that matter.
What I think is more appropriate to take away is there's a lot of playbooks here.
Right.
There's a lot of nuance around building products, building consumer interactions, building for growth.
Right.
Right. How they literally engineering virality, literally for all practical purposes. Right.
I think their name is also something like that. Viral Tech.
Viral Labs LLC.
Yeah.
Right. So they're very they are all about viral. Right. So that I think is the most important part for me to look at them and adopt it. The other interesting lens that I found to look at is, see, Cal AI for me, I think is a very useful product. Are there similar lenses that you could take in consumer utility in India and maybe attempt those? There's this one app that I know of called Ali, A-L-L-E, which does it for women's fashion.
Okay.
Like, I find a problem of, like, how do I, like the same problem as knowing what's the calorie count in my meal. What do I wear out of my wardrobe? It's a question that lingers.
So what does Ali do? Does Ali ask you, show me your wardrobe, point and shoot at it, and let me tell you what to wear and what more to buy?
So it's a mix of that. One is point and shoot. I'll suggest you new styles. What are you going for workwear? Are you going for a party, ethnic? What kind of stuff? It will also mix social.
Right.
So it'll do a lot of search plus internal, your own stuff, right? So consider your wardrobe as your data, and you could look at alternate data out in the social world and then do a match and then come with best recommendations.
Is this also AI powered?
It's AI powered, yes.
All right.
I've seen the iteration from the first version, and it's very women focused in general.
Okay.
So they've gone from the first version to now it's a pretty slick one relatively. But yes, they're trying to mix what's with you with what's out there in the world and then coming with the right recommendation.
So Ali is an app which is again a an application built on top of AI slash GPT slash LLM of some sort. And what it does is it behaves like your personal stylist.
Yes.
Is this
Yes, you could put it that way.
got it? And but this particular product, Ali, is very women first. So if something like this existed for men in India, do you think it will work?
I think male grooming is going bigger in India.
Yeah, look at Bombay Shaving Company. Like in the last 5-10 years, I think we have become.
There's a lot more coming. And I think there's interesting takeaways from here to build on top of male grooming.
See if this makes sense. If I was the product manager has built a gamified engine for distribution and now is distributing products, right? Nika Man does the same thing, but their CAC is, you recommend me to build something like this and then push products that way?
You don't know till you don't try.
Yes.
So
Nika product team, if you're looking at this and if you're not, I hope somebody forwards this to you.
we are open to sponsors.
Yeah, we are absolutely. Next episode just about Nika by founder भेजो तुम लोग. But anyway, so one of the most brilliant people I know in the industry is this guy called Paras Chopra. He built Wingify, right? I happened to work there for an year. I think I don't know anyone smarter. Like, he tried building an app. He shut it down now, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
it was on very, very similar lines, right? And makes me wonder that personal health, the personal fitness, the personal look, the personal grooming part of it, right? I think that's a big agent, and I see a slice there. I see an angle there. I see that men are extremely uncomfortable talking about these aspects to other men, right? So I'm not gonna come and talk to you about, bro, आप कौन सा gel लगा रहे हो, कौन सा sunscreen लगा रहे हो, right? I'm just not built. We are not designed that way.
I seriously don't think we are doing that anytime soon.
Yeah, we are the.
But I'll tell you one very interesting anecdote about this. What is it that men don't get and would be one of the best gifts that a woman might want to give to a man?
That is, I'm not gonna answer that.
That's called a compliment.
Oh, कौवा तक तो मैं ऐसे रुक गया था भाई, but yeah,
When was
compliment is
last
there.
time you got a compliment?
Bro, I got one recently, guys. No, but yeah, that's solid. I don't think men get complimented, and I realize,
So an AI that compliments you more often, you think that would work?
bro, this is the end of it. This is the end of things. Now men are just into AI.
We are now getting into the end of the episode.
Yeah. No, but no, I think it's big, and I think this angle, this problem itself, which is it's a fairly soft problem, right? Men don't talk to men about other things. They will talk to their moms, they'll talk to their wives, their fucking girlfriends, but लौंडे बात नहीं कर रहे, वो एक दूसरे की बेइज्जती कर रहे हैं पूरे time, right? So can we
laugh about other men who have put on any kind of skincare.
Yeah, we do that. We do that at times. At times, not always. Okay, but today we are just softness around the modern man, right? Where does this guy go and talk, right? Whether it's about,
So I think just to put in a word there,
right,
therapy apps. I know 5-10 different type founders who have been building therapy apps.
absolutely.
I haven't seen any of them really succeed at scale so far. Would it work? Maybe. I don't know. The jury's still out on that one.
Yeah, no, I think, see, the current version of AI LLMs that we see, they're so good with content and content generation, right? Therapy as a process is mostly just hearing a lot and then processing a small output. I think therapy is a solid use case. A lot of people are acting on it. I don't think anybody has solved it till now, 100%.
As we talk about it, there's one idea that strikes my mind.
Yes, right? I was doing this for Ministry of Oats. The idea was to feed it the concept, the kind of ingredients and the kind of menu we have, right? And ask it for more and more recipes on same lines. Mind-blowing, most productive employee ever. So if there was just a, kitchen assistant, there is a garden assistant, right? Maybe this is finally how the chotos we have India has servant rooms in houses, right? Maybe this is how we finally get rid of them, right? Now there is enough AI. ओए झाड़ू कैसे लगाएंगे? Sorry. पोछा भी तो करना है guys. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
But-
so let's not be India one elite we don't mean to be demeaning in any way.
Yeah, not
Just
okay.
for
I'm from Dhanbad. He's from a fancy place. Shit. Dhanbad is good, guys. Dhanbad is super tier 2. Absolutely.
हम सब वहीं से आए.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. AI gardener, AI kitchen assistant, AI fashion assistant,
Mm,
AI look assistant,
mm,
AI astrologer.
mm,
I use GPT more regularly as a therapist for a bunch of problems that I go through in my head.
mm.
I think every entrepreneur will relate to it, that you do have your imposter syndrome, you do have
100%.
isolation times, and a lot of that. And I've found GPT to be really good at it,
Mm,
right? Especially if you're able to prompt it in the right way.
mm,
I think it's able to pull you out of your spiral
mm,
and get you to see things differently.
mm,
So there's a lot of new stuff that you could build, maybe do small, maybe do large.
mm,
Very interesting stuff.
mm,
But yeah, somebody's got to build.
mm. Let's think a little bit more on these lines. So after the last episode, I don't think any VC will ever pick up my call. But if there is,
No, I think we'll give them ideas.
yeah.
Best. And
But okay, listen, guys, if you just want a pitch deck around this, we can help you make one. If you think that just doing a AI consumer app hackathon out here in our place is gonna be interesting, we are open to doing that also.
yes.
But one thing we are going to certainly do, the most impressive part of these guys, right, was the go-to-market strategy that they have.
Yes.
Right. What we'll try to do is we'll try to spend some time with not just the two of us, but we'll try to involve a few more people. If you are interested in brainstorming, would love that as well. We'll try to distill everything they did and try to make a small playbook out of it. If possible, we might just send it to those three guys and see if they approve of it or make changes to it.
Yes.
Once we have the final thing ready, we'll push it to you. And I think there's a lot to learn from these three people. And we are just scratching the surface with AI GPT wrappers, right?
You only get our playbooks. Like, share, subscribe, guys.
Yes. Guys, like, why do we have to say this every time? Just like, share, subscribe. I'm going to tattoo it somewhere and just this empty wall, maybe
Yeah.
you can just write it here. Like, share, subscribe. Else,
We gotta do what we gotta do.
yeah, gotta do what you gotta do, bro. This is our GTM. But yes, I think this has been a solid episode. If you have more ideas on what kind of AI GPT wrappers could be monetized for India, please do tell us, right?
Please comment on what apps you have found similar.
Absolutely.
Please comment on something curious that you are building on.
Right.
Or for anything else, comment what would you really love to have as an app in this area or domain, right?
Especially because after this episode, we are so much more interested in reading just comments. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, guys.
So
Thank you so much. This was fun.
thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.